Hello, lovely viewers. You are welcome to another session of $1 series. Stay tuned and enjoy the lesson.
So today we are going to look at prediction. Today my focus is to predict question dito for the final year students, and I want you to follow me carefully. Now the first predicted question I think WAEC is bringing is national income, which I believe most of the students are scared of. They said it's very difficult, but it's actually not difficult. And specifically, if WAEC is bringing this question, then it's bringing the expenditure approach. And I will come back and we'll go through a question on that particular topic. Now, the second question that WAEC may add to this is the theory of production. The theory of production, which I would go through questions with you and you understand it. Now, basically, when WAEC is setting the exam questions, they set three sets of papers. So we have A, B, and C. So I also have my A, B, C papers. This, what I'm giving you is the first two data question on the first paper. So the first two data question is what I'm mentioning. National income, specifically the expenditure approach and theory of what? Production. So we are going to take them one after the other and then solve questions on it, and then you will be able to know how to go about it when it is dropped in examination. Is that clear? Okay. Okay, so before we take a question, I want to give you the general formula for calculating anything they will ask you under the national income question, specifically the expenditure approach. Now, the first thing they would want you to find is the gross domestic expenditure, GDE or GDP. So we are saying that GDP is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. That is the formula for finding your GDP or your GDE. Then two, they can ask you to find NDP, which is net domestic product, and that is equal to the GDP minus depreciation. Then three, they can ask you to find the GNP, which is gross national product, which is equal to the GDP plus or minus NFY. Then four, they can ask you to calculate the NNP, which is the net national product, and that is equal to GNP minus depreciation. Or you can use the NDP plus net factor income. Then five, what they can ask you is net export. So net export, NE, net export is equal to export, which is X minus what? M. Then six, what they can ask you is per capita income, PCY, which is the national income or net national product divided by the total population. So in general, this is all that WAEC can ask you to calculate, giving you a national income question. Is that clear? Now, the next thing we are going to do is I'm going to show you what you need to get all these things. Is that clear? Okay. All right, so let's look at the net factor income. With the net factor income, you can find GNP. Without the net factor income, you can't find GNP. And the net factor income is the difference between the income earned by nationals abroad and the income earned by foreigners at home. So shortly we say YN minus YF, which represent income of nationals abroad minus income of foreigners at home, gives you your net factor income. Then depreciation helps you to get NDP and then NNP. So once you have depreciation in the question, you would be asked to either find days and days, and then you will need the depreciation to do that. Depreciation is simply the wear and tear of machine parts or the capital consumption allowance. Is that okay? Now, when it comes to subsidies and indirect taxes, they are together. Subsidies and indirect taxes. These two helps you to get anything here at factor cost. Anything here is at the market price. So normally we write MP, market price. But if you've been asked to calculate any of these things here at the factor cost, then you would have to add in the subsidies and subtract all indirect taxes. So for instance, to find GNP at factor cost, and we write it this way, FP, we said GDP plus or minus NFY will give you GNP. Then what do we need to convert it to factor cost? So we add subsidies and we subtract indirect taxes, T. Is that clear? So when indirect taxes and subsidies are given, the probability that they will ask you to calculate anything at factor cost is high. Is that clear? Now, anytime you see population in the question, they will ask you to find the per capita income. Is that right? So when you have population in the data given or the question given, you should know that they are going to ask you to find per capita income. And that is dividing the national income or net national product at factor cost by the total population. Is that clear? So if you're able to get all these things and know all these things, then it will be easy for you to what? Answer any national income question. Is that clear? Okay. So before we end this section, I want you to try your hands on this question on national income expenditure approach. Is that clear? Before we come to the close of today's section. Is that right? So you have the question on the board. Use the table below to answer the questions that follow. So you have the items and you have the amount in $1,000,000. So the first one, gross consumption expenditure, gross domestic investment, that is simply investment. Government expenditure, consumption allowance, that is depreciation. Export of goods and services, import of goods and services, subsidies, indirect taxes, net factor income, and total population. Is that okay? So we are going to add the questions to it. So you have the questions on the board. A, calculate I, gross domestic expenditure or GDP. I, net domestic expenditure or NDP. I, gross national expenditure at factor cost. IV, net national expenditure at factor cost. B, calculate the per capita income of the country. C, determine the balance of trade position of the country. And then D says, state any 3 problems of this method of estimating the national income. Is also go through it. If you have any problem, you send your problems to me or your questions to me. Is that okay? And I will meet you another time. We'll go through it together. I will solve all the questions with you so that you'll be okay. You go there and it's there 20 marks. Is that clear? All right. So that comes to the end of today's section. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Is that okay? So I'll meet you another time. See you then. Bye bye.